Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. More reactions to the Prime Minister's proposal to double the minimum wage. At least 2 youth leaders believe enough information has been put forward for undecided youths to cast their votes come tomorrow. And later in sports, 2 changes to Reggae Boys squad for this month's World Cup qualifiers against Bermuda as well as Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kerry-Ann Simpson. Now the details. We begin with more reactions to Prime Minister Dr. Holness's proposal to double the minimum wage. Speaking on the morning agenda on Power 106, President of the Jamaica Employers Federation, Wayne Chen, said the public should not be surprised at the announcement, as discussions around wage increases have been ongoing since 2022.
Destruction, loss of jobs. I have been happily proven wrong on this one because despite the significant increases, more than doubling in the 4 to 5 years, the unemployment is at a record low and more Jamaicans are working than ever before. Now, is this a good predictor of the future? I don't believe so. I don't think so.
Meanwhile, former president of the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise MSME Alliance, Donovan Wignall, while agreeing with Mr. Chen's stance, noted that the change could hit households twice as hard, offering less value for more money.
Minimum wage, and more than likely it will be like wholesale. Shops, people who basically just need staff to handle a cash register, people in the supermarket, etc. Their expenses are going to go up significantly.
However, President of the Union of Clerical, Administrative and Supervisory Employees UK's Vincent Morrison disagreed with the move.
You cannot, for political reasons, political expediency, make a suggestion of the sort. Because the economy cannot take this. The business that, the security guards work cannot take this. The security guards, they work 72 hours, most of them. 40 hours are normal work, and the other 32 hours overtime. So the 3.5% adjustment in the tax threshold is the best way to go at this time.
In the meantime, the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, that's BITU, says it welcomes the recent announcement by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness regarding plans to raise the national minimum wage. If re-elected for a third term, Mr. Holness's government intends to gradually increase the wage from $16,000 to $32,000. The BITU views this as a positive step toward improving the lives of Jamaican workers.
This is a bold and historic commitment. For decades, the call for wages that allow workers not just to survive, but to live with dignity has been at the center of the trade union movement. So by moving to establish a livable wage system, the Prime Minister has given a clear recognition to the fundamental truth that the labor of our people is the backbone of national development.
The BITU is urging all relevant stakeholders, employers, government officials and members of civil society to support this proposal.
This is the first administration in Jamaica's history to commit to such a system. The BITU applauds this system and sees it as a watershed moment in advancing fairness and justice in the world of work. We stand ready to engage constructively in the design and implementation of the phase increases of the broader framework that will give real meaning to the promise of a livable wage.
Now, the BITU was formed by Sir Alexander Bustamante, founder of the JLP. At least 2 youth leaders believe enough information has been put forward by the 2 main political parties to help young people decide who to vote for. Details in this report.
Over the last 2 weeks, the RJR Gleaner Don Anderson polls reveal that young eligible voters remain high among the undecided going into the general election. And there have also been conversations that youth voices have been left out of political discussions. So, with less than 24 hours to the polls, is there enough information out there to change the minds of undecided youths?
We have gotten a lot this time around. I'm not sure if I can recall another election campaign that had so much from both parties speaking about funding tertiary education and so forth.
You've gotten a lot, but do you get the sense that a lot of the folks on campus are engaged and will go and exercise their right tomorrow?
In terms of exercising the right, I am not so sure yet.
Okay.
But I know that the conversations are happening, so they're observing. Whether or not they will participate is another
thing.
Yeah.
I think one of the bigger questions too is not whether they're hearing. I think a lot of persons are hearing, but are they understanding what is being said? Do they understand the awesome responsibility that lies in one vote and how it cumulatively can change the entire society?
Among the top policies they believe stand out for the young people are the minimum wage increase, student loans starting from zero from the JLP, and the increased tax threshold, as well as the first in family from the PNP. However, they believe trust remains a barrier preventing young people from being part of the process.
The poll results would show that there's certainly a trust issue, and if there's also an issue of unkept promises, then somebody will question whether or not my vote is valid. But the crucial issue to me is that political parties have not communicated well enough over the years.
In the meantime, this recommendation to both political parties.
The University of the West Indies Mona commenced on Monday physically. Majority of the students are not from Kingston, so they have to travel to Kingston. Voting is when? On Wednesday. We have class today. So you can imagine how difficult it is for students to leave that campus and go to Hanover to go
Just
and
to
vote
and then come back
within a day. So I think that we need to start having that conversation of floating PDs, and also the political parties have a role to play in mobilizing your voters from the campus. So you have a few hours, if you're hearing me, JLP, PNP, come and get the votes.
Raquel Porter reporting for TVJ News.
To a TVJ News follow-up, less than a week after highlighting the poor state of the licensed main road in St. Thomas, the repairs are complete. The crater that once stalled traffic and battered vehicles has now been patched, just in time for the reopening of schools. But as Sandy Williams reports, some motorists believe more needs to be done.
Licensed main road, once a crater-riddled headache, is now smooth sailing. Over the weekend, heavy machinery and road crews moved in, patching, paving, and sealing what was once a gaping wound on one of St. Thomas's busiest corridors. Just days ago, traffic crawled here, sometimes for hours. Vehicles scraped, rattled, and bled cash for repairs. A motorist last Friday.
The whole of the front end. Right now, we have to go by a part to the back end. And then stop the car under, we wheel and camber. And at this up.
Now, motorists are breathing a sigh of relief. The evidence is on the asphalt. Quicker commutes and one less worry for taxi operators, parents, and students gearing up for the new academic year. It's a turnaround many had been begging for, and one that couldn't have come at a better time. But while one problem is fixed, another concern is already on the minds of motorists: safety, especially for pedestrians.
We need a pedestrian crossing at the hospital because the man them pass out there like too much speeding. Apart the hospital, so we need pedestrian crossing at the school crossing, and we need a pedestrian at the hospital. I can't pass the hospital with them speeding.
For now at least, the licensed main road is back in business. A welcome fix in time for the school rush. Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
Chief Justice Brian Sykes says the judiciary has played a key role in maintaining peace in Jamaica. He highlighted the court's contribution to ensuring calm and order during elections. Here's Shimala Pullen.
Chief Justice Brian Sykes says the judiciary has helped make elections in Jamaica more peaceful over the years. Speaking at the swearing-in ceremony for judges ahead of the start of the Michaelmas session of the Circuit Court, he stressed the duty of the courts is to support a peaceful society.
One of the things that we should be thankful for and be proud of is the build-up to this election. For those of us who are old enough to remember the days of the extreme levels of violence in the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s. And now, we hardly even think about the tension surrounding the general elections. And the legal system has contributed very significantly to that by discharging its responsibilities in a very efficient, fair, and balanced manner.
Justice Sykes reminded the newly sworn-in judges of their important role and encouraged them to serve with integrity and dedication.
The Caribbean region remains a beacon of excellence and example of how good governance can operate, despite our difficulties, because one of the striking features of our democracy is that the executive has consistently accepted the decisions of our courts. You don't have the demonstrations and appeal to impeach judges and remove judges whenever the decision doesn't go the way that political actors would like, and for that we must be thankful for.
According to Justice Sykes, when the court system is inefficient, it can be quite costly. He says it can cost the country at least 2.5% of its GDP.
The cost manifests itself in two ways. Direct costs, that is, drain resources immediately out of businesses, out of the pockets of citizens who are engaged in litigation, escalating legal fees, lost business opportunities, the mounting administrative expenses for backlog cases, and the bureaucratic burden of an overburdened system. There are indirect costs. You have the emotional cost, the emotional toll that it takes on citizens.
Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, the Chief Justice is encouraging the complete rollout of the electronic case management system. This is to further strengthen the justice delivery process.
This is where the Ministry of Justice, not to blame, but just to remind them that they need to provide the funding for the integrated electronic case management system that we have been talking about now for the better part of 3 years. A visit to Rwanda 3 years ago. The Rwandan delegation came here 2 years ago, and we are still at the point of talking, something that we excel at.
A new youth-centered intervention program has been launched in Cumberland, St. Catherine. The St. Catherine South Police say the initiative is aimed at educating residents on how to maintain peace and safety in their neighborhoods, while also fostering strong relationships between the police and the community. Now, Senior Superintendent of Police Leighton Gray says community programs are always necessary in helping youth develop.
We are when we work together. When community members stand side by side with law enforcement, when churches, schools, businesses, and civic groups unite for a common cause, we are able to overcome obstacles that maybe otherwise seem insurmountable.
It is time for a break, but stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. It is now time for the Business Minute.
The Ministry of Labour and Social Security says pension arrears for seniors who receive payments by direct deposit have now been cleared. The ministry explains that the issue which caused the delay has been resolved and the outstanding sums were deposited to pensioners' accounts yesterday. It says the arrears covered the difference between the old pension rate and the increased rate for the period April to August 2025. The ministry adds that the new NIS pension rates will be reflected in this month's payment. Further afield, the price of gold has hit a record high, as demand for the precious metal remains strong amid global economic uncertainty. The spot gold price hit $3,508.50 per ounce early Tuesday, continuing its upward trend, which has seen it rise by nearly a third this year. The precious metal is viewed as a safer asset for investors during times of economic uncertainty, and its price rose earlier this year after U.S. President Donald Trump announced wide-ranging tariffs which have upset global trade. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Prince Moore.
Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, counting is underway in Guyana's national and district elections following Monday's poll. The Guyana Elections Commission has announced that the national declaration of election results is anticipated on Thursday following the completion of district declarations by tomorrow evening. A total of 757,690 registered voters across the 10 administrative regions were eligible to cast their ballots. A mission of the OAS, led by former Prime Minister Bruce Golding, observed the general and regional election.
Thank you, Antonia. We now head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report.